We'll go through the heat results though. So for the heats, heat number 1, I'm just going to go through the finishing order. Roman took home heat number 1. Second was Detail. Third was Slaunch. Fourth was Ump. Fifth was Camby. Sixth went to Hunter. Seventh was taken by Virus. Eighth was Ferret. And Commando came home in ninth. That was first heat results. Second heat, Vulcan took the win in that one. Second place went to Real Deal. Third place with Shift. Fourth place we had Luke. Fifth place Atlantic. These are all over the docks. Opix took sixth. Seventh went to Elite, and eighth went to Fury. So that was the heat results. And then we were gonna do an LCQ, but I think someone had to back out like right as that was starting up, so the LCQ did not end up going down. So that was good for everybody for the sake of time, I suppose, and nobody got eliminated. So that was kind of nice too. Everybody that was there ended up getting to race. All right, so now we're going to be going through the starting order for the feature here. That all good to go. All right, so starting in the front row, it's going to be Vulcan. Second is Roman. Third, Real Deal. Fourth, Detail. Fifth is Shift. Sixth is Slaunch. Seventh, Luke. Eighth, Ump. Ninth is, I think that's Atlantic. 10th, Camby. 11th, Opix. 12th, Hunter. 13th, Elite. 14th, oh, I'm going to need some help here, Virus. 15th, Ferret. And 16th, Commando. All right, so now there's the starting order. We're set up ready to go. Watch the lights when they go green. Race is going to be off. Remember, one last reminder, 25 lap race. And I don't think I've mentioned this yet, so two pits, and the pit system for GP this season, I believe, is the same. Let's do a quick overview of the track, actually. I should probably do that. I don't think I went through that yet. So Dillion, of course, you might recognize this from last season's GP season. This was Dillion V3. I don't think there's been any adjustments. So if you recognize Dillion V3 from last season, it's the same exact thing. My personal favorite version of Dillion here, after going through many iterations and many tweaks and changes, this is what we're left with, and ends up being a pretty nice track. And as you can see, like, if you remember the original Dillion layout, there are some similarities and stuff like that, some simplifications. You know, it's got a similar layout. There's definitely been some things that have changed, but the overall like concept of it, I suppose, has remained the same. There's all the pit stalls there. Helicopter still on the track, right between the pits, and this last little like chicane here, up here, through these rocks, and we are back to the start. So yeah, the end of the track is fairly similar. It's still that berm that no one uses. You know, just adds character. But we're ready to go. Let's watch the lights. We're about to go green real soon here. And there we go, green flag. Let's see how this first section goes. Can get pretty cheesy sometimes. Usually a lot of pole contact on the first couple laps. Surprisingly, well, until the end there. Some people got hit on the end, but I usually like the first two poles get conked pretty hard. Actually wasn't too bad. As you can see, coming out with the lead is going to be Vulcan. Vulcan's going to maintain the lead early on. Ooh, big conk, big conk. Let's get to the trees here. This section can get pretty cheesy on the first couple laps. Usually not too bad afterwards. Oh, and Shift right there goes down. So already an early crash. I think another driver, may have seen a glimpse of another driver towards the back go down there as well. So, we're going to be hitting the finish line this time by. This is going to be the first lap led of the season, and actually it is going to go to Vulcan. Vulcan leads the first lap down of Season 11. Real Deal second, Roman third, Detail fourth, Slaunch fifth, Luke sixth, Ump seventh, Hunter eighth, and we'll go about that far out. Alright. This neg camber can be pretty tricky. I don't think anybody runs the neg camber perfect, you know, every lap. Everybody has better runs and worse runs, and it just kind of goes lap by lap. So that section is always pretty interesting, because sometimes if somebody has a really bad run and you have a really good run, a lot of the times you can get a pass started there. Let's take a look at the pits this time by. And yeah, Vulcan, the leader, actually is going to go for an early pit. That is a surprising strategy call there. I don't know if I agree with that, but he's doing it. And there he goes. Let's see where he rejoins. Well, on the bright side, oh, that was close. On the bright side, I think we have another driver towards the back there. Vulcan does come out of the pit with a fair bit of clean air there until he gets to Hunter. So that's actually not too bad, but yet again, I still don't know if I agree with the strategy. That means that Real Deal right here is going to lead his first lap down of the season. Oh, Roman with some conk action there. That was unfortunate. It looks like he's a little pissed with those honkages. I'm assuming that's what that means. And that is going to put Detail into second. Roman will still hold on to the podium position there. Got pretty close between him and Slaunch. And our new top 5 is going to be Real Deal, Detail, Roman, Slaunch, and Luke rounding out the top 5. With Ump on the outside looking in. Oh no! And Real Deal! An unexpected mistake there, and also Slaunch going in for his first pit. Real Deal hits the tree, still comes out in second, so I mean, you can't be too mad, but yeah, that was not good. That was not good. I think Shift going for a pit there as well. One driver going down on the HRL sign. Man, that is unexpected. I actually thought Real Deal would have been in a really good position for the rest of this race if he did not mess up right there, and that mistake may come back to haunt him. Although at the same time, like the fact that he just had a crash as violent as that, the way he recovered, he did not get dismount, I believe. The way he recovered was actually very, very fortunate. The fact that he came out back in second and, you know, only lost that first place position, was still ahead of the rest of the competition, and it didn't have to deal with any dismount, any oncoming traffic. It wasn't too bad. Like, that could have been way worse. So if you want to look on the bright side, but still, he's probably still pretty mad. Because that could have been a really good start to his race. And again, Ump now hits the tree. I didn't think this section was that tricky, but I know a lot of drivers have issues with it. And now Ump's going to recover right in front of Vulcan there. It looks like it's a pretty crazy pack over there, so we may get a chance to look at that here in a sec. Also, this top 3 battle, well, really the 2nd through 4th battles also heating up pretty hard. And that, again, like similar to what happened to Real Deal there, Ump with a very good start to his race, that's probably going to come back to haunt him. That was worse. He was not in as good of a position as Real Deal was to make that mistake. He also had a pretty decent recovery, to be fair. But yeah, that's tough. That is very tough. I'm surprised by how many crashes we've had there already. I did not expect that to be, you know, the really dangerous part of the track, but so far, it's looking like it is. Those battles back there are going to get interesting too, with some of the early pits coming out of Vulcan, coming out of Slaunch. Some very early pits. Let's see if any of these guys can opt for one yet. No, not quite yet. Let's see if they go down to the tree. No, not going to. And Detail with that early lead. He's getting his first laps led of the season in. Can't fail to mention that. Detail, one of the team captains. Automatically, if you're a team captain, you're pretty much a favorite to win the title. One of the favorites to win the title. So, getting his first lead laps in here. This battle, 2nd through 4th. Oh, it's getting cheesy back there too. Oh, shit. We're having multiple battles on track. The 2nd through 4th battle is starting to get really close. And Lucas on the inside of Roman, but not going to be able to get by him. Roman's going to hold on to 3rd. He's going to settle out for a little bit. Let's get a little update here on the outside of the top 5. It's actually Hunter holding on to 5th place position here. But you also got to remember Hunter hasn't pit yet. Vulcan and Slaunch have taken pits, and they're right behind him. And this is not what you wanted if you're Vulcan and Slaunch. This is the big risk of taking a very early pit. They come out behind Hunter, and that's not helping the race. Vulcan's actually going to go for a 2nd pit already. Let's see how this works out. I want to say here, because remember, Vulcan was our pole sitter. I want to see how this works out. Shift going in for a 2nd pit, I believe. It looks like Ump coming in for a 1st pit. And, oh, that was pretty hot. Oh, he might even get Camby. If he gets Camby, oh, that's huge. Oh, and Camby didn't go down either. That was close. Well, that was big from Vulcan. If he got stuck behind Camby there, that's an awful 2nd pit. But the fact that he was able to slice and dice his way by both those drivers, that was actually pretty good. That was a big move out of Vulcan there. Slaunch and Hunter still going at it. Oh, and we just saw the end of it there. Luke was able to just barely get by Roman there with another back-to-back laps, another nice run through the neg camber. And the gaps for the top four starting to settle out a little bit, but they're all pretty close. Like, they're all actually really close with each other. And if you look at that, 2 through 4, Real Deal, Luke, and Roman, that is still very much alive. Detail does have quite a bit of an advantage right now. He's just clicking off laps. These guys are going really hard behind him, so this is a good start for Detail. This is what you want. But at the same time, like, all these guys in the back, well, I suppose we haven't seen Luke get conked super hard, but Real Deal and Roman definitely have had some conks early in this race. So I think that's going to be important. I think that definitely a key to this race, key to any race really, is to avoid those conks. And now it's a side-by-side between Real Deal and Luke. Looks like Luke's not even going to have it. Real Deal will hold on to the second place position, and Roman is loving this. He is right on the back of that, potentially waiting to take any type of advantage that he can if an opportunity shows here towards the front. And these guys are not pitting yet. That's kind of what I'm waiting for at this point. I want to see when they pit, because that's part of the reason why these guys, I mean, they're running fast right now, but that's part of the reason why they're so far ahead is the pit strategy. Look at this Hunter Slaunch still. That's elite, and that's actually Vulcan. But remember, Vulcan has 2 pits done. That's going to work out very interestingly. We go back to the front here, and like I said, the gaps, they're staying close. Like, they're a bit more stretched than they were in the beginning, but they're staying fairly close. We may still see some interesting battles here. I don't think we're quite done yet. And again, we're waiting for those pits too. I think pit strategy, if I was going to go keys to the race here at Dillion, I mean, I know this is a key every race, but especially at this track with how tight this track is and how hard it is to pass, how hard it is to get past, not getting conked, not conking yourself, like, that's huge. Because if you just run clean, it is really hard for other people to get by you, and you're going to get passes off of other people wrecking. And here we go, Luke's going to take his pit. He's going to be the first one of the top 4 to take the pit. So nice and clean pit there. Not going to reload, going for a heater there. And that's where he comes out right in front of Hunter, so that was huge. And if Luke comes out in front of Hunter, that means that the rest of the top 4 should too. I think that's Slaunch there going for his second pit. Elite potentially for his first. Let's see where Slaunch actually comes out behind Vulcan on his second pit, so that is huge for Vulcan. Vulcan's looking pretty good at this point. So yeah, interesting little tidbit here for the top 4 battle. Again, Luke was the first to pit, and he came out, he was in third going into it, and he came out in front of Hunter. And that is huge for the rest of these guys, because I think that's what they're trying to avoid. I think they're trying to, you know, at worst, like if Detail were to pit here, you know, come out behind Luke in 4th place. That would put Luke in the 3rd, and that would put Detail in the 4th. I think that's what he's hoping for. I think that's what all these drivers are hoping for. They do not want to end up behind whoever the 5th place driver is. They don't know who it is at this point, but they don't want to end up in that area. And it looks like they won't. They've held off for long enough. There's Roman with his pit. Let's see how this goes for him. You can tell Luke's definitely going to get by him right there, and I think Roman actually elected to reload, so that's going to make it a little slower. Let's see where Hunter with his first pit. Yeah, he's definitely going to come out on his first pit, going to come out well behind Vulcan and Slaunch. So with the pit strategy, they eventually were able to get by him there. And as you can see, the Roman and Luke gap, I don't know if that's all because of the pit or if it's because of the laps that they ran, but that gap is super gone now. So that's going to be interesting how what happens now when Real Deal and Detail pit. And look at this. Real Deal's actually starting to catch up to Detail, so yeah, this race is heating up. Yeah, I think I lost my thought earlier. I was going to go through keys to this race, like I said, not getting conked, because if you stay clean, hard for people to pass you, easy for you to make passes, because people are going to be messing up in front of you. Another key to this race, and I know it's for every GP, but I think especially for this one, because, like I said, it is very hard to pass on this track, as Real Deal's going in for his first pit here. I think pit strategy is huge. Like, you don't want to spend too much time stuck behind somebody that's slower than you. So taking your pits at the right time is huge, and this is going to be close here. Oh, Real Deal actually elects to reload, and that is interesting. That is important. Oh, and Luke's going to be in front of him. Okay, so that's big. So Luke did not reload on his first pit. Real Deal did, and that's huge. That just shows the pit strategy here. That is actually why Luke came out in front of Real Deal there. So that was close. And the pit strategy, if Real Deal would have held off on the reload, he would have gotten slowed down a bit on his later pit, but I think he definitely would have came out in second. So, you know, maybe, I don't know if he knew it at the time, but if he watches this, he's probably kind of pissed now. he's probably a little pissed after that, because that could have been a really good opportunity for him to bring this race back. He was actually running really close to Detail. He was right behind him, but coming out in third now instead of coming out in second, That is really tough. But the race is not over yet. Let's get a little update here. We are on lap 11. And oh, somebody went down there. Wasn't Detail, that was Commando in the lap traffic. And Detail does go for his first pit. Real Deal's going to go for his second. Ooh, that got really close up there with Detail and Luke on exit. But Detail will hold on to the lead. Real Deal comes out of his second pit ahead of Vulcan and Slaunch. Vulcan and Slaunch, that battle's heating up. Okay. So that's kind of what we expected, I think. But now, after these pits, and remember, I think Roman's only done one. So Real Deal is actually the only driver. He's in 4th right now, but he's the only driver of these top 4 to be done with both pits. And remember, Detail and Luke up here and Roman in 3rd. They still have another pit. And this battle for the lead is heating up. Detail's had the lead for a while, but he's made a few mistakes, and now it's getting pretty close up front. So this is about the gap that we saw Real Deal with earlier. And yeah, this could get pretty interesting up here, and we'll have to see if they decide to pit, how this is going to go. Oh, Detail does. Detail actually pulls the trigger on his second pit. Let's see how it goes. Has to reload there. So that's interesting. He might have even, like how I was talking about before, how Luke came out in front of Real Deal, because the reload. Oh, Real Deal goes to block, and Detail comes out in front of him. Oh, man, that was close. So like I was saying earlier with the Real Deal and Luke pit, where Real Deal, if he would have just went instead of taking the time to reload, he would have came out in second. That's interesting. I think Detail just came out in the lead because he didn't reload on the first pit. So that's kind of interesting. We'll have to see how that works out, because obviously that got kind of close, because he did retain the lead, but when he had to do his second pit, he just barely came out in front of Real Deal there. Obviously that's his last pit, so it ended up paying off, but that got really close. And of course, everyone knows the strategy. Like, you don't want to reload on one of your pits. There's no reason to reload on both, so you're just losing time at that point. Although you don't always, depending on the situation, you'd think, oh, you probably want to go for the no reload on the first pit. That's not always the case. You know, things could get more interesting than that. You never know. Oh, Vulcan messes up in the tree section. Another mistake there, and that is going to be 5th place for Slaunch. So Vulcan running a really good race, holding on to that top 5, but that may have just cheesed him right there. But he's still holding on to 6th place, and like I said, I had a lot of hype for Vulcan going into this season. I think 6th place on a GP so far, if he can hold on to that, like, that's not a bad way to start off the season for him. Lead lap as well. And it looks like they already got laps. So Commando and Virus here just got put a lap down by Luke, who is now in the lead and leading his first laps of the season. So now we have 4 different drivers so far on this track that have led laps. 3 of them being team captains, and then Vulcan was able to get one in the beginning. That's interesting. The 3 team captains that I think most people probably think that this season's going to be between for the battle for the win, they actually all lead laps at this race. I don't think lead laps is a bonus point anymore, but still curious to see who ends up taking that one home. And Roman, trying to get by Roman. That's kind of funny. Yeah, so if I ever call Virus Roman, that is his name. So if I ever do that, I'll try to differentiate and call Virus Roman and call Bromaniac Ramen. That's what I'll try to do if it ever gets to that point. But yeah, so I'm just going to call him Virus and Roman. It's just so iconic at this point. You just kind of have to do that. So yeah, Roman's working his way by lap traffic right now. Now Detail's also going to take his turn through lap traffic, then Real Deal will. And these top 4 battles are still pretty tight, and there's still pits to go. Remember, Luke, I think, is the last one up here that still needs to take his second pit. So when that happens, we'll get a real look at how this is going. And like, even with the lap traffic coming into play, these guys, the gaps on the top 4 has been pretty close this entire race. But another thing you also have to take into account here, Roman has only taken his first pit. He actually, I almost forgot there, he also has to take his second pit still. So Detail and Real Deal should come out in front of him for sure when that goes down. As you can see, Slaunch and Vulcan. Vulcan's actually not running too bad either after getting past. He's doing a good job this race. So that's 6th for Vulcan. That's 7th for Elite right now. Hunter's running in 8th. I think Elite has another pit. There's Ump in 9th. And Ump is like on an island. We go through Canby, Shift here, Opix there. Yeah, this race has gotten insane at this point. It is so gapped. And even though this is a track where it is fairly difficult to pass on this track, there is definitely a skill gap, and I think you see that by the gaps between the drivers right now. Like, there is certainly a skill gap on this track, a pretty big one. It's just hard to pass. But even though it's hard to pass, that does not mean that it's hard to gain time. There is a lot of time gained, and there is definitely some skill differential here between this entire pack. And at this point, things are really going to get interesting. We're kind of just... Oh, Slaunch and Vulcan getting through lap traffic. There's an issue there. Slaunch was not able to get by Commando. Now Vulcan closes the gap. There, Commando, blue flags. Things could get interesting here. That was potentially an opportunity there for Vulcan. Oh, Vulcan's making it interesting. Slaunch giving him room. Vulcan on his left. This is going to work out for Slaunch eventually, unless Vulcan can make something crazy happen. Broke a little too hard right there. But definitely showing him some aggression. So like I said, Vulcan's actually hooping. Alright, believe the hype. Believe the hype. Vulcan is not cheesing. Like, yeah, he had some lap traffic help there, but he is actually hooping here. Oh, and that's unfortunate. I think Virus probably should have just waited there and let them both blue flag, but that's going to hold up Vulcan a little bit harder because he just let Slaunch blue flag, and now he's going to hold up Vulcan. So that's kind of unfortunate. I suppose it works out for the entire battle because, of course, Commando conked Slaunch a bit, but yeah. Alright, come on, blue flag, blue flag. Alright, there you go. Now Vulcan should get by. So that's how the gap works out after the blue flags. You know, still potentially battle there. I think we have Luke still has not taken his second pit. Roman, on the other hand, right there takes his second pit. And let's see where he comes out. Look at that. Slaunch and Vulcan actually not coming out too far behind Roman. They're actually fairly close. So how much time do we have left in this race? Well, there's about 7 laps left. So that's not too much time, but that is, well, that's enough to make a move. I mean, if something happens to Roman, we could see a 5th or 6th place driver creep in there. So I am actually surprised. I thought Roman was going to come out with a fatter gap, but he, surprisingly, even with the slowdown from the lap traffic and the battling and stuff like that, Slaunch and Vulcan are actually fairly close to Roman, all things considered, after the second pits have been taken. But still quite a noticeable gap, though, like I said, even though this track is hard to pass on, and we're seeing that through a lot of this, through a lot of these battles. Still interesting racing, and here it is. Luke's going in for a second pit. Let's see how this works out. Has to reload this time, or didn't have to reload. Wait, what? Did I mess things up? Or, you know, already reloaded, my bad. And look at that. Look at how that pit came out. It got pretty close, but Luke was able to split the difference and get by Detail. But this is still really close, though. And two very close pit exits for Detail. We also saw the close pit exit, the really good pit exit from Vulcan earlier, passing 2 people. The pit exits have been pretty exciting this race. But this is huge. Luke timed his second pit just perfect. He's just barely in front of Detail here. So this race is really going to heat up now because Detail has to make this pass. There's no pits left. He's got to make it. Detail really went for it right there in the neg camber. Not quite able to get it yet, but he did not lose too much time off of it, so he's still very close. And look at that. Real Deal, there's Real Deal's gap. So he, unless there's some mistakes or some lap traffic here, Real Deal's probably out of this front 2 battle at the moment. So this first race of the season, we saw him battle just the week before on the Blast from the Past tourney. It's going to be Detail and Luke fighting for a win here yet again at Dillion. Detail with a really nice line there. He definitely nailed that triple chicane that time by. Going to gain some time there, and I think we'll see while we're watching here. They're definitely both fast at different areas of the track and gaining on each other at different areas of the track, and that kind of keeps things interesting. But Detail, you can just tell by the way he's running, he's really going for it now because he knows he has to. And I think that's going to potentially lead to a pretty exciting moment here if he can make a move all over the bumper. Again, trying to get on his inside. He's just able to do it, but not able to make the pass, and that's the important thing. If Luke can just hold off there on the neg camber, Detail can get side by side because he can take Luke's inside, but he's got to get enough of a gap to make a pass, and that is tough to do. So Detail's the one that really needs to go hard here and needs to make an aggressive move. I mean, that's the only way you're going to make a pass this high up in the pack. He needs to make a super aggressive move. Let's see how they go through the triple chicane. Like I said, Detail, this might be his fastest section on the track, especially at this point in the race. He's got that part dialed in right now. So yeah, at this point in the race, that might be Detail's best area. It's looking really strong there. Really close there in the last corners. Coming to 4 laps to go. 4 laps to go this time by. Interesting differential there. Detail staying on that rumble. Luke opting to not go for it. Still pretty gapped after that. Detail sticking that neg camber. He's really going for it at this point. Detail slower in the early half of the race, but here towards the second half, it looks like he's finally warmed up and starting to run to the potential that we expect. Like I said before, we just didn't see the best laps out of him, but now I think he's got it dialed in, and that's good for us because we get to see a good race now with the way that he is running lap times right now. Let's see if he nails this triple chicane again. Again, like I think he's easily the strongest driver there. I think everybody else in the top spot is running a similar time, but I think Detail is just a step ahead, and that's why he's probably the fastest driver on track right now. These top four are probably competitive at other parts of the track, but that triple chicane, he's just really got it dialed in here. At the same time, though, it's different parts of the track. That probably like the same gap as last lap right there between him and Luke, so definitely different parts of the track, they're faster. I think Luke's really got, Detail, no, that was unfortunate, and his conk is easily the worst that we've seen out of these top drivers. That was tough, the full dismount and having to flip the goose over, and now Roman's right there in his bumper, so that is unfortunate. That's going to put Real Deal safely in second place, Luke safely in first, and now a potential battle for third, so that's unfortunate. You could tell Detail was really going for it, and I think he was going for it especially in that section right there, because I think that, like I said, they're faster in different parts of the track. I think Luke really had the first triple chicane right there dialed in. I think Detail really has this one dialed in. So I think Detail just risked it there, tried to gain time on where he was losing time, and it just did not work out. You can tell with him and Roman there, that's just easily his best part of the track. So that is unfortunate. And here we go to, it's going to be 2 laps to go. 2 laps to go this time by, so here are the gaps. We'll get a good look at it here. Now that they're gapped out a little bit, we can afford to look at it. There's Real Deal in second, Detail in third, Roman in fourth, Slaunch in fifth, Vulcan in sixth. They got stretched out a little bit at this point. Lap drivers right there. Holy crap. The 6th to 7th place gap. There's Hunter. He's eventually taken over 7th place. Elite in 8th. Ump in 9th. They're actually fairly close, but not enough laps left for anything to happen. Some more lappers right there. The gaps are insane. There's Opix coming by there. Shift. Canby. I think eventually we're going to be getting back to the leader here. And here we go. So, we're going to be coming to the white flag this time by. And unless one more conk, the only person that hasn't really conked in this top 4 is Luke. So, due for a conk at this point. But that is a pretty big gap, and we are going to the white flag lap here. And like I said, I mean, if you look at the gap for Real Deal, if he didn't make that mistake very, very early on in the race, I mean, obviously if Detail didn't make that mistake late, I think he'd still be here competing for the lead. His speed in that last triple chicane was just so fast that it made up for any other weak points of the track, if any. But yeah, Real Deal, if he didn't make that mistake early, he could easily be in this. Oh, and a slight conk on the pole for Luke, but not I would say not nearly as bad. Like, that's going to slow some time, but not nearly as bad as any of the other conks that we've seen. So, at this point, might be GG for the first race of the season. If you're going to have a conk, it should be the least bad conk. And look at that second, third, fourth place battle. That was hot the entire race, and a couple more laps, a few more laps. We could have seen some even crazier stuff, but we're coming down to the finish here. We're coming up to the finish. And here it is. Luke's going to take home the first race of HRL Season 11. Real Deal taking second. Detail taking third. Almost got pretty close there at the end. Roman fourth. Slaunch fifth. Vulcan with the sixth. Wow. And yeah, these gaps. That's a lap driver on the side there. That's Atlantic. That's Hunter coming home with 7th. Ooh, Ump challenging a lead at the very end. And Ump, another driver, he had the screw up in the tree as well. He may have gotten like 7th. He may have finished ahead of Hunter or near Hunter, if it weren't for that early conk. And Vulcan even, he may have battled with Slaunch for 5th. Like, that tree section, I did not expect that. Like, when I was going through the track preview, I did not expect that to be like, all right, yeah, guys, here you go. Here's the treacherous section of the track. Watch out for this. I did not expect that at all, but that section ended up being very tough and ended up being the deciding factor, honestly, for a lot of these drivers' races. Had a lot of influence. Remember, Real Deal screwed up there, Vulcan screwed up there, Ump screwed up there, probably a few others. So yeah, I would not have. I would have actually said this right here. I would have said this section was the one to watch out for, but nope, it ended up being the trees. So a little unexpected there. But yeah, there's the first race of the season. A lot of hype going into this race, and I honestly think it delivered. There were some pretty exciting moments with the pit exits, especially a lot of cool crashes in the tree section. Some really good battles. The top four, pretty much everybody in the top four battled with each other at some point and had a really good battle. Slaunch and Vulcan had a really good battle for 5th and 6th as well. Like even Elite and Ump there at the end, we didn't get to see too much of it, but it looks like they got pretty close, and obviously Hunter was involved with Slaunch and Vulcan early in the race. So we got to see a lot of good battles, a lot of good action, a lot of good crashes, what you expect from a race, and I'm glad. I think this race definitely lived up to the first race hype. This is about as good as you can get. I mean, it could get cheesier, but this is a pretty solid GP race. So let's go through the final results here as much as we have them. I don't think everything's fully updated yet, so there'll probably be stuff that changes afterwards, but I'll go through what I know so far. Well, let's pull it up on screen. That's probably a lot easier. Sorry, I had to take a drink. That was a long commentary. Name suggestions for GK. I'll give you one in a minute. I actually have a few ideas. Okay, so here we go. Going through the results here, and again, like stuff will probably change. There'll probably be. Wait, is this the pit times or something? They're working on that stuff and the lap sled and all stuff like that. So I think that Luke led the most laps. I think that Detail probably led the second most. Then Real Deal, then Vulcan is probably right. So I'm kind of just assuming there. Again, from before, don't forget, because I think, is there a bonus point for the heat win? I think there might be. I don't recall. But Roman and Vulcan did take home the heats, and that's actually crazy. I don't think anybody probably would have predicted that. So Roman and Vulcan already taking heat wins early in the season. That's big for them. But let's go through the feature finish, of course. Luke taking the win, Real Deal second, Detail third, Roman fourth, Slaunch fifth, rounding out the top five right there. Vulcan sixth, Hunter seventh, Elite eighth, Ump 9th, and Opix 10th, rounding out the top 10. Shift 11th, Camby 12th, Atlantic 13th, Ferret 14th, Commando 15th, and Virus 16th. And unfortunately, Fury not able to make the final event, but he did race the heat, so he comes down there in 17th. So there you go. There is the final results for the feature finish. I can't really do the points yet because there's bonus points, there's potential pit violations, stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff at play here. That won't be updated for another like day or so or something like that. So we'll get that eventually. So this is what you got for now. we'll have it official. I'll show the points going into next race when we get to Holy Gardens here in a week. I will show that because I'm sure stuff will change ever slightly, but I'm sure stuff will change. But yeah, not soon enough for me to show here. So all we really know is that, because I don't think lead laps, I don't think that's a bonus point anymore. So all we really know is that Roman and Vulcan won the heats and Luke got the yard charger. That's all we really know for those situations. And not really sure about the penalties yet. I don't think the team points are not updated there, right? Like the team results, that's not updated yet. Let me get that here just so I can have that. I think I know what it is, but I'm just going to double check. I mean, I can show it. Why not? People can figure it out. So let's go through the team results here. So let's go through Nice Yass. Luke with the win, Vulcan with the 6th, and Ump with the 9th. So an average of 5.3. Then we go to the Neighbor Hoopers. Real Deal with the 2nd, Roman with the 4th, Hunter with the 7th, with a 4.3. So they are the leaders right now. Filibuster's the only one left. 3, 5, and 10 with an 18. That's tough. So Filibuster's definitely going to be there in the 3rd place spot. So the team results, there you got to see them live. God damn it. So the team results is going to go to, this is not updated yet, it's going to be Neighbor Hoopers. They are taking the 1st place team spot for the GP round. We'll do some analysis in a second. Nice Yass came home with the 2nd, and then We Are Not Elite came home with the 3rd. And I'm just doing this for, I'm just curious. I want to see how it would have came out if a Detail held on to that 2nd place. So it would have been 17 then, 5.6. So So then 3, 4, 7. I don't think it would have made a difference because it affects them. Yeah. So it would have been a little bit closer. It would have been a little bit closer if Detail held on to that second place. Obviously, that'll have its own consequences for the season battle. Elite got 8th. Oh, rip. Oh, my bad. I completely forgot about Elite. My bad. Hold on. Let me do that again. My bad. I forgot he existed. So it was actually a tie. It was a little bit closer for the second place spot between Nice Yes and We Are Not Elite. That does not affect anything though. Nice Yes still gets the second place. It's a lot closer though, off of a tiebreaker because Luke had the highest finish. So again, that actually so it would have mattered. Oh shit! It actually would have mattered. That's tough. That's tough. Yep, it would have mattered. So that's insane. But yeah, I'm gonna do that a lot. We Are Not Elite would have taken home second place for the team standings battle if Detail did not lose that second place late in the race. So that is unfortunate. I completely forgot about that with Elite there. So the pickup for Elite for the 4th works out because Elite actually finished ahead of Opix here in this Dillion race. So that their 4th place pickup already paying off here in the first night helps them with the second place. Or, well, actually it didn't help them at all because they got 3rd, but it was a better average finish than they would have had. So in that way, it helps them. But yeah, team battle, GP, already pretty close off the start. And that's insane. If Detail would have held on to that second place, Nice Yes would have had the winning driver and would have gotten 3rd in team. That's crazy. So yeah, already really competitive here. Not only for the individual standings, but the team standings, very, very close. A few things, switched up a little bit. Could have got juicy. So there you go. I mean, I pretty much went through everything that I can. Now we unfortunately don't know the fastest pit stop. That'll obviously get that next week. We'll figure that stuff out. So we're not going to know that for now. But yeah, that's what we know for now. And interestingly enough, like I was going for the schedule, I said that Neighbor Hoopers was probably the strongest GP team. And here we go. On the first night, I think they already show that with a very strong, even though they didn't get first, they still were very strong and had a commanding first place finish in the team standings there. So Neighbor Hoopers, like I said, strongest GP team, already showing that here in the first race. So second race next week, around this time probably, you guys, I'll be on again. Gonna be showing Holy Gardens SX. So that is next week's race. And that one's gonna be interesting for the team battle, especially because that's one of the easier SX tracks. I wouldn't say it's, well, until Gridiron gets updated, we'll see how it goes, but probably one of the easier SX tracks in the schedule. I'm really curious to see how that one goes because I think I said, I don't know if I did a video on it or something, or if I was just it might have been during the Blast from the Past tourney. I think I said that I think that team We Are Not Elite might be the best Supercross team, especially because Fireball does not come into play around for Team Nice Yes around Barvo or Arzetta, so he's not going to be coming into play next week. So yeah, I think I said that I think that We Are Not Elite is probably the strongest SX team, so we'll see how that goes. But again, Holy Gardens might be one of the more competitive in a way SXs, so maybe that doesn't work out for him. I don't know, but so far, first GP in terms of the team standings, went pretty much how we expected. So, all right, there you go. Cheese Bonner, and yeah, that's pretty much all I got here for season 11. So see you guys next week for that Holy Gardens Bond.